It's Energumen opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2 mile novices. Energumen by a romping 10-12 lengths.
I have the Golden Groom with me. He's agreed to a rematch. Ronan Groome, how are you?
I'm not too bad, Basil. I've had better weekends punting, as I'm sure you're going to point out as we continue on here. But it can only get better from here, I suppose. And delighted to be back on the Cheltenham Challenge as well. So.
Absolutely. But last year we turned out a fairly decent profit between the two of us, and hence I said between the two of us. And I'm still waiting on that written post as well, Envoyal and Grenadine. They were always going to win after you come out with statements like that. But we're back on the challenge. Here we go. You'll see in the footer down below, live in Champ HQ. Mr. Groome, of course, 20 shows, 20 stakes, or 20 points we're going to be staking. And we can also throw in a 2-pointer as a captain at any stage. So, i.e., 22 points. I think you have the maths right there. So every single episode, 1 selection at a point, a selection. And no long shots, no wild cards this season. We're going to keep it very, very disciplined. We need to get you in profit. That's the main thing. And then we'll be in business for the season. Mr. Groome, how looking forward to this series are you?
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, of course, I have a bit of making up to do after last year. I thought I actually had the best book going into Cheltenham, but that's just the way it goes at Cheltenham. Some years it just didn't fall for me. A couple of seconds here, a couple of posts and crossbars rattled, but as you say, that's just the way it go. So yeah, a bit of what would you say? I need to get my own back this season. So looking forward to having a good crack at it. I think I have a few nice early selections to get myself some juicy prices to start off. So we hope for some of them to be in good position by the time March comes in.
He's fairly fired up, the Golden Groome. And Ronan, so look, everyone, get involved. We have a prize to give away, Ronan's forfeit for losing the challenge last season. We're going to announce that in 2 seconds. But every single week, we're going to run down quickly through how the way we're going to structure the shows. The very first segment every single week, Ronan, we're going to take 10 performances in the last 7 days. That's 10 performances. I'm going to take 5. You're going to take 5, and we're going to star rate them and put up, I suppose, the ranking sheet at the end of every single week. So, how good was the performance with a view to Cheltenham? And we're going to start a star rating out of 5. The second segment of the show that we're going to look at, Ronan, is the tracker horse. So we have to keep this in. We had some good joy with it last season. I think Love Envoy was a tracker horse at one point. She went on to win multiple races and obviously went on to the Cheltenham Festival to win the mares. None of us actually had her in the selections, but the tracker horse has proved profitable. I think Cruise Control won for Tom Lacey. We had good success with that. So that stays the tracker horse. The big question is the third segment of the show. Now, you can see up above, we want you to post in your big question every single week into the show. And we'll be addressing this week's big question next Monday. So every single Monday, we're going to try to get the shows up for 7 p.m, longer shelf life, and, more time for you guys to get involved. Save posting it up at 10 minutes to midnight. And no one sees it when they're gone to their beddy bye-byes. So that's exactly the format we're going to use. The next piece, then, we're going to share, I suppose, your portfolio. So one of the viewers' portfolios every single week. Ronan Groome is going to put his critique eyes on it, and we're going to be putting the spotlight on a portfolio every single week. We're going to be running through our own selections, and then our new selection every single week, our new Ante-Post selection. So that's the way we're going to structure the show. If anyone has any suggestions, by the way, or little segments that you might like us to include, please do let us know. But we're going to, Ronan, you're going to give away a prize to start with. Of course, on our jump show that got, I think it was over 4,000 views, actually, in fairness. Thanks to everyone who got involved in the comments and entered the competition with the most compelling case for a dark horse to follow for the year, Ronan Groome.
Yeah, great to see so many replies. And it just goes to show you this time of year, everyone is charged up for the whole season, and everyone's believing that they found a nice horse here and there and willing to kind of stick their hard-earned on it or put it up for everyone to see. Honourable mentions for a few people there. Bag of Hammers put up a horse called Queen's Gamble, which I was interested in. I had a look at all these horses She won a nice bumper there at Cheltenham, and probably no one would have heard of her, or very few people at least. Got me interested anywhere. Bazza put up a horse called Billy Griffin Cottage, who I was interested in a lot last season. Kind of a strange profile. He won a few point-to-points and came through that, and was kind of third to Blazing Cal, that sort of form, and Gelino Bello, and ran a nice race in the Ballymore. It'll be interesting to see what he does this season. Jesse James put up a horse called Seabank Bistro. I know a lot of people are liking him, especially going over 3 miles. And Wayne, I just mentioned him as well. He put up a nice horse called No Ordinary Joe. He thinks can win the handicap hurdle this season. All nice horses that are interesting, and I thought they were worth a second look when I was going through their profiles. The one I'm going to give it to, I just thought he made a very nice articulated case. A guy called Shane Moore put up a horse called October. I'd actually never heard of the horse before reading it on Shane's post. Won a point-to-point there at Ballyvidock in January, and Shane pointed out that the horses in second, third, and fourth have all won since. So the form is pretty frank. Henry has this horse. Not sure who owns him. I was trying to find it out myself. Who's got him, if he's in the Rob Cork colours or maybe in the Mulryan colours, but Henry has him anyway. And Shane rightly points out the Ballymore would look like a nice target for him. Henry likes to go there. So October was the interesting one there. So we'll give it to Shane. Shane, if you direct message Champ.ie there, and we could sort you out with a free bet. And well done to everyone who got involved, and we always appreciate the comments under the video. Helps the video go far on YouTube, and it's great to get interaction with everyone and get everyone involved and giving their horses. So thanks very much.
Yeah, we look forward to reading all the comments, I suppose scrolling through all the comments and critiquing some of those portfolios right throughout the Road to Cheltenham Challenge 2020-2023. Just news on the other competition as well that we do in our Thursday shows. We do have 2 people who got 2 winners or more in the 5 cast, so we will be announcing a winner on Thursday shows. So, we do have a winner of that €100 free bet. Ronan, your pockets didn't steep that as big as stablemates. So,
not
Shane,
Cheltenham I had, no.
Shane, congratulations to you. I can't wait actually to see you on Tobber. Yet to see him on a race course. Be interesting to see the route he takes. Right, Ronan Groome, first section of the show. Let's get on with this Road to Cheltenham Challenge 2023. And this is the prospect review section. You've taken 5. I've taken 5. We're going to let you in from the word go here. First horse that you've looked at with a view to Cheltenham, I suppose the caught your eye, a winner. Who was the first?
Yeah, well, I suppose not really caught my eye, but we did a bit of a random draw here. But they're all interesting, I suppose, in their own right for Cheltenham, and people will be talking about them with regards to Cheltenham after the weekend. Nappers Hill is one. Obviously, he's gone and won, and Wincanton there, he's beaten So Royal. Now, people will probably look at this form and think, British hurdling, it's not up to much in that. But I just thought this was a nice performance. He beat So Royal, who, you can fairly hang your hat on. He's running to about 155 plus probably every time he runs, especially in this Wincanton race. He's a multiple winner up track. He's probably run to his rating here. He's giving £6 to Nappers Hill, but Nappers Hill's a rating of 146. I think they're going to go for the Greatwood Hurdle on Sunday, perhaps under Pendley. I might be interested in there. The 2 of them came 17 lengths clear of Night Salute, which for me is already, I know I've said on this podcast before, I'm not really a big fan of the juvenile hurdlers from last year coming up. And that's already popped that bowl for me, to be honest, because Night Salute was right in behind Pied Piper again. That's a really strong form line. Pied Piper obviously ties strongly into the Triumph Hurdle. I couldn't have the likes of Oban, those sort of horses now for champion hurdles. Night Salute there just struggled to really go with them and all. But the winner, Nappers Hill, I thought was good. I have to say, he's a horse. He's 6 from 9 over hurdles. I know he's a horse that they thought of nicely in his bumper days. And Frank Nichols obviously has the team in great form. We need to state that. But this is a nice horse. I think he did it strongly from the front. It might even be better when he gets a stronger pace to aim at as well. I thought he did it nicely.
Come on, the timer's on you here. I'm getting like Vince.
Yeah, we'll move on quickly. That was the most interesting one. The others were all younger horses. Well, look, let's get into Grenadine first. I just stay I think
that was some performance.
It was good. Look, it was a brilliant jumping performance. He jumped from fence to fence. and he got the others out of their comfort position. I'd just be a bit worried that they really run the races in behind Warlord.
Third time lucky.
The third time lucky, the Skeleton horse. Yeah, he went out like a light. Third time lucky, traveling nicely into the race. And Warlord just looked like he was a bit outpaced. I think you said that on the preview show. He was just looked a bit outpaced. Probably 2.5 miles, 3 miles might be his bag in time. So, but Grenadine looks as good as he did last year. Probably, obviously better. He was beaten in the same Hazel Gold Cup last season and went on and won Tingle Creek. Nichols is all about Sandown for him. He's always said that in his previews, in his stable tours. He's obviously a multiple Grade 1 winner at Sandown Grenadine. No, he'll go there with his big chance again.
This horse is still improving, Ronan. And
possibly, yeah.
Well, he is. He certainly is.
Yeah, well, the other horses I wanted to, they're all younger horses. Look, we look at Gordon at Down Royal. Like, we could talk about it in a while, but he dominated the meeting, and I think trainers are just afraid of Down Royal now. This is Gordon's meeting, and that's it. You know, I was just did the stats for the paper last Saturday, so last 3.5 before Saturday came along, Gordon had like a 53% win record at that Down Royal meeting. So look, the likes of Mighty Potter, he done it well there. It was the horse I wanted to mention, Mighty Potter, but he's had to make his own running. His jumping was a bit, he made a couple of mistakes at the same fence, and he's ended up just being pushed out and done it nicely. I don't think he can be getting hugely excited about him now. I saw a few people clip him in for the marsh.
Jesus, the other way. It's the other way you want to be going with him, and he was one of my horses to follow, Ronan, just to kind of pick up on that. God, he done a lot wrong. You've seen it, what, like, and the danger, I suppose, with horses like that is we could end up trying to, forgive him all season. You saw it with Bob Ollinger. This horse, I thought he made plenty of mistakes. Mighty Potter, I just couldn't. If we didn't recorded this show last week, he would have been a contender for me to put him in as my first selection without seeing him over a fence. I thought this fellow would be an absolute natural, and just to pick up on that, I wouldn't be taking his current price, and I would need to see him a couple more times before touching him for Cheltenham after.
Yeah, and I just want to say I wouldn't let it hugely put you off. Like the fact he wasn't impressive could have been a circumstance of the race. He's had to make his own running.
Possibly, yeah.
I think that's ideal. Maybe he's probably seen him in the Drinmore next, and you can see what he does there. That'll be the real Ante-Post. The other two horses, I'll fly through them quickly. Look, Cougar is a horse everyone was chatting about before he went up to Down Royal. Beat a horse at Gordon's there called New Year Honours, and the pair of them came clear. I think that's nice form.
Price is he for the Boodles?
Perhaps that could be the way he ends up, but I'd be surprised now if they weren't aiming a bit higher now. He's by Deep Impact, which is it's the brilliant thing really. It's a gas horse to be sending hurdling. But he's obviously very, very interesting now.
You have a match bet on which race he'd line up at in the Cheltenham Festival. What price would you give me on him lining up in the Boodles?
Well, I presume he goes to the Grade 3 at Fairyhouse next, and you'd be getting pretty high marks in the Boodles if he wins that.
I don't think he will win it.
I think he will. I think he's fine. He travelled well. He jumped. Maybe he was a bit novice to start, but
lovely performance. I thought
it was good. Why do you think that? Why do you think you go for the Boodles?
Well, Brazil won it last year. Same connections, I'd say, when Willie and Gordon start rolling the dices with their juveniles. Henry might have a couple tips thrown into the mix. I just could see this horse coming up short at Fairyhouse next time, coming up short at Christmas, maybe tongue strap on for the first time at Naas, maybe in February, an encouraging run, maybe without winning, and goes to the Boodles with a live chance. That's just my hunch.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I guess with the Boodles there now, you can't really take a huge view. Well,
no, you can't. You can't. Right, who's the next one? Who's the next one?
Yeah, just a quick mention to the man driving Duvan who ran last week. Was it? It was Turles. Sorry, I got mixed up with the Tipperary tracks. He did it well. He won a bumper there, like nothing to write home about. I presume he goes hurdling now. He's a chatty kind of hypey horse. Look, he won a 4s on, did what he had to do. Wasn't too impressive. Won 2 1/4 lengths. Let's see him over hurdles down. Let's see what he can do. And then the judgment will be ripe then.
Super, Mr. Groome. I'll throw my 5 into the mix very, very quickly. Just a comment on my 5. Tyne Hill ran into 225 at Exeter. novice chase. It was only a 3-runner contest. Started off his career over fences over 3 miles and travelled very, very strongly. Look, the strength of the race. This particular race at Exeter has been won by some smart types in the past. Native River won it before going on to the Cheltenham Festival and winning. Last season was won by 3 under True 5. Tyne Hill, obviously, the regard, he's held in high regard coming in here. Obviously, 161 rated hurdler. Jumped, I thought, barring 1 or 2 novice mistakes, I thought he made a lovely shape over a fence. And I think actually in our video, there was a couple in there who mentioned Tyne Hill. And I suppose going into the race, I actually genuinely give this horse, he's on the short list for the Brown Advisory at this point in time. Travels beautifully. He made a lovely shape over a fence. He's only going to improve. And if you were to ask me to rate his performance versus Mighty Potter's, I would give Tyne Hill a better star rating. I thought it was a good solid 4. There was lots that was crabbing him. Was absolutely nothing in the race. Flash Calange was second. Press Your Luck was pulled up, but I was particularly drawn to how well he travelled in the race and how he jumped. And I thought he saw the race out nicely. Absolutely, he took the last out of the ground. But apart from that and 1 down the back, thought he was very good. That's Tyne Hill. Magical Zoe. I'm just raging.
Magical Zoe, Shirley.
Magical Zoe, is it? Yeah, okay. For Henry de Bromhead, she SP that's 18-1, and one of my biggest regrets on last week's podcast. And this is not hindsight, but on the any others to mention, she was in the tracker. Magical Zoe, couldn't believe she won 18-1. Thought it was an absolutely lovely, lovely performance. She's shortened up considerably now, hasn't she, for the Mayor's Novice? Henry obviously had a decent weekend at Down Royal. Wouldn't rule her out improving a lot this season. And obviously it was a very, very smart performance. She's one definitely to note going forward. Was it just her 3rd star for Henry de Bromhead? Did she win a bumper for Barry Fitzgerald? Am I right in saying that? Down in Cork? Maybe you have the wrong.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, she was I liked what she done. And there could be a lot more to come from him. American Mike just mentioned, obviously he's in all the long range multiples for Ballymores and that type of thing. He probably does have plenty of pace. He's probably going to improve and sharpen up an awful lot for that. A hunch, I would say Albert Bartlett, but you know,
I'd agree with you.
He's a very, very talented horse. He's a lot to improve in terms of his jumping based on what we saw at Down Royal. Start him off over 2 mile 6. Did Gordon say he's going to drop him back and trip now? Like Ginto won the Lawlers at Naas. Could that be a target? And he went to Albert Bartlett. So, you know, there's a couple there that Gordon has to unleash still. That could potentially see him going up and trip. I don't know. That's just a hunch. At this point in time, I wouldn't be going next now near him for a Ballymore based on what we saw on the track over hurdles. Envoy Allen, what a performance it was. What a ride by Rachel Blackmore. She was very, very patient. Interesting comments from Rachel that he didn't come up for every fence like the way he normally would. Possibly, you know, keeping a bit for himself. Great record at Down Royal. Great record fresh. And extremely lightly raced over 3 miles. And this morning announced that is he going to join Allaho in the King George. I wouldn't be. Look, I'm not saying I'm not saying he's a huge price or anything for a Gold Cup or anything along those lines. But he's so lightly raced over fences and so lightly raced over 3 miles. He's certainly a horse that I would be keeping onside. Envoy Allen could be a lot more.
Would you actually? Because
yeah, no, would you?
Like that's his side. I think you've obviously had it right off there. You backed him in a nice price and you've won. And fair play. I'll put my hands up and say well done. But call that race for what it is. It was.
Yeah, no, I just think.
Do you genuinely think that was a great performance? Like Galvin's fell out the back of the screen, hasn't run his race, Conflated drifted like a barge.
Kenboy's a decent yard.
Kenboy is on the way in, you'd have to say. He was 158 going into the race. He's been beaten twice in the easy game this season.
First time up, Ronan, I thought was a very good performance.
But you just said he goes fresh. You just said he goes fresh.
Of course he goes fresh. But I just say
what are we saying here?
I wouldn't be quick to rule him out in any 3 mile contest in Grade 1 company between now and the end of the season. That's what I'm saying. And I think...
I don't think he'll win another Grade 1 this season.
Yeah, I'm not saying he will. I'm just saying I wouldn't be so quick to scratch him off to say that he won't. That's my point. King of Kingsfield. Jesus, Ron, I was nearly going to give him to you. I thought you'd have a lot to say about this. What was it? 7 or 8 to 1 before the race? Subject of a gamble in the week for the Ante-Post for the bumper. First of all, he's French bred. Second of all, he's he's owned by Jigginstown. And thirdly, Willie probably hasn't even started training his bumper horses yet. What a crazy. Anyone talking about him or backing him for a champion bumper prior to his start at Down Royal needs their head examined. A 10 to 1. Crazy.
Why does it, how does it even excite people though? I just like this crack of backing a horse for a bumper, or the mere even idea of just keeping him in bumpers. It's just genuinely, it annoys me. Like, just of course, what are you going to do? You got to wait the whole...
I've done a lot wrong. He done a lot wrong, and probably did well to win, to be fair. He obviously has an engine, but that won't be winning the champion bumper. I can guarantee you that. I'm happy to put that on the record, as Ronan Groome would say.
Be careful now when you say that.
No. I can be pretty sure he won't win the champion bumper. Right, that's the first segment of the show, Ronan Groome. Now it's time for your tracker horse.
Yeah, I mentioned them there quickly. I've two. I wanted to just quickly shout out Gunsight Ridge over at Aintree. It was kind of a horse I was looking at the start of the season for my to follow list. Nice and progressive last season. Tied it lovely over an Aintree now. He jumps really well. 2 mile chaser. I think there's more big 2 mile handicap chases to win with him. Ollie Murphy in the Diana Watley colours. But my tracker horse is going to be Conflated. I thought he was interesting going into the race, but I thought Gordon's comments on him were interesting. He was slightly worried about him going right-handed. He drifted like a barge in the betting post-race, suggested that he just wasn't ready at all. And he's only been beaten 4 lengths in a Grade 1. I think it was a big run from a horse possibly not fit. You often get a horse up at Down Royal in that race that they, just gets beaten for fitness. I think of the likes of Clanday's Oboe, who progressed significantly from that race to win the King George. There's a few other horses off the top of my head I can't think. But I think Conflated now back at Leopardstown, going left-handed, I think he can win at least one of the Grade 1s there. So the Savills Chase at Christmas or the Irish Gold Cup. Like if you look at him last season, he's won he came out of nowhere, won a double race festival, won the Irish Gold Cup. And everyone's just kind of thinking, oh, he's 18 to 1 there. He's come from nowhere. It's a bit of a fluke. Gordon really wanted to go for the Gold Cup. That was the word, wasn't it? Gordon wanted to go for the Gold Cup. The O'Learys wanted to go for the Ryanair Chase. He was running quite well in the Ryanair Chase, but Allaho was just powering off in front. He was the one to run after him, fell at the second last, and then he's run a huge race up at Aintree, nearly closed down Clanday's Oboe at line. That's really good form, getting that close to Clanday's Oboe at Aintree. So I think he can win one of those races, the Grade 1s at Leopardstown at Christmas. And could be a dark horse now, possibly going back to the Ryanair again. We have to see obviously what Allaho are doing, or the Gold Cup at a huge price. But I definitely think for shorter term targets, he could be one to follow at Leopardstown.
Yeah, super Ronan Groome. I'm going to go to Down Royal for the tracker horse, and a race that's been won by some real smart types in the past. It was the 123 on Saturday, was the winner of the race, and it's a horse called Invictus Manchin, or Mankin, whatever way you want to pronounce that. Gavin Cromwell. Just a 4-year-old, this race, just worth noting, this maiden hurdle has been won by Envoy Allen, Ballyadam, Mighty Potter, and Gavin Cromwell is at the winner this season in McManus. So he's only a 4-year-old. I remember watching the race. Obviously, JP had plenty in here with big reputations. Foxfire Glow went off 4 to 9. I think he opened up 130 on for the race. This thing coming to the last looked like it was just dropped in. It was given a very patient ride by Keith Donoghue towards the rear, the rear early. He won it. He SP'd at 12 to 1. It was a very, very taken performance. A big son of Coastal Pad, only 4. He won by 5 lengths going away without even getting a smack. It just looked like it was dropped in at the last. It just seriously very visually impressive.
Yeah, he was nice, yeah. Nice.
So be interested to see what comes of that. As I said, he is only 4. He'll be turning 5 obviously next year. I don't know whether they mind him. Interesting, the comments just after the race as well by Gavin Cromwell had said that he'd been working very nicely at home prior to the race, and said that they're basically going to mind him. Be a lovely horse next year. When you hear the word next year, I don't know whether be getting excited or looking for prices on him for Cheltenham or anything like that, but he's a smart type. Reminded me actually of, this might sound crazy now, but remember Annie Second Now came from the absolute clouds when his maiden hurdle at Navan. Not sure what you could compare. Just this thing looked like it was just dropped in, and just one to keep on the right side of going forward. And just to mention as well to Pat Doro as well. Obviously, for Gavin Cromwell has some nice novices this season.
He's flying. Him and Donoghue are absolutely flying, and Flooring Porter back next Sunday as well. So lots to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Love to get Keith on the show. Actually, heading up to the down to the Royal Bond Festival. The first of date is it on the is it the 4th Sunday the 4th. So it'd be great to catch a word from Keith. But absolutely flying. Had a nice mare as well that won a Cork as well, Gavin Cromwell. So some lovely novices this season. Yeah, that was the tracker horse. Now, obviously, the next section typically will be the big question, but we don't have any questions this week. So put your questions down below, and we will share some questions next week and get into the bones of it, myself and the Golden Groom. That is the segment of the show, the big question for this week. Next week, we'll have a lot more to talk about. Then also, we will be doing a spotlight and a 1-minute portfolio review. So obviously we don't have a portfolio because we're just about to share our first selection for the Road to Cheltenham Challenge 2022-2023. And Ronan Groome, the time has come. And look, you know what? You do the talking. What is your first Ante-Post selection, Mr. Groome, for the Cheltenham Festival 2023?
I'm going for Gentleman to Me for the Queen Mother Champion Chase at 14-1. For reasons I outlined on our Jumpers to Follow podcast, I think there's a bit of leeway in this price. He's a horse that was brought along nicely last season, kept off the track for a while, made his debut. Well, he was having his second run at Leopardstown at Christmas and was finished second to the Arkle Buzz horse there, Halt on Galore. And then I think Willie decided...
You've taken 14-1, have you?
I've taken 16-1, actually. 14-1 for...
You put them in the 14, okay.
For the purpose of the competition, yeah. And he just reminds me a bit of Greatfield, this fella. You know, he was always kind of highly regarded when he came over. The crux of the argument is he beat Edward Stone at Aintree. Edward Stone beat everything else in the Arkle. Alan King said, in fairness to him, he was honest, came out and said, no, it wasn't a case of Edward Stone being over the top at Aintree. And if that is the case, Gentleman to Me was the best novice chaser around last season. And he's with the right man, Willie Mullins. I could see him drawing up a sequence again like he did going once he got his act together last season. And in that case, you know, I could see it come down. Look, Energy means the horse to beat. I know, don't need to tell you that. But it's a unique division that can often, it's very, it's a very specialist division, 2-mile chasing. So I'm always interested in the novices that come out from the year before, the second season chasers. I think this one is pretty good. So willing to take a chance of 14-1.
I'll have to comment because 2 questions. Do you think, first of all, he's good enough to beat Energy? Second question, could they just go bypass Cheltenham and go to Aintree?
Well, the Aintree race is the Melling Chase, isn't it? It's 2.5 miles. So if you think he's a 2-miler, then you would go to Cheltenham. Do I think he's as good as Energy? No, not at the moment, but he has scope. He's only had 5 starts over fences. And, quick ground, possibly. You love Energy, of course. Like the Champion Chase fell apart last season. Like, you can't deny that it was an absolute sham of a race that it turned into.
Form worked out really well at the weekend with Enviala winning the Champion Chase.
You can't call Enviala winning. Stop your mess. So
Listen,
for
listen. If I was a Shishkin fan, I'd be genuinely would be concerned. Does Shishkin go to the Tinkle Creek? I'd be genuinely very concerned about competition at home this season with Grenadine. I think he's improved no end. I get what you're saying. Another small field, Halden Gold Cup, did the race fall apart? Just in terms of the division across the water. Obviously, they all have to come up to an Argentines level, in my view. And that's obviously, I've put that on the record. I think he could be still improving himself. Great. Back to your selection, gentlemen, to me, it'll be interesting to see what way they campaign him before Christmas. Does he go across the water? Does he go to the Dingle Creek? That was mentioned for him, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah. It was mentioned as a few options. That weekend, there's the hilly ways on and everything. So
and an Argentine is going to Cork. So look, I suppose from the price perspective, look, I'll come into my selection. So you're putting them in at 14s. That's one loser for Ronan Groome. I'm joking. Come here. Best of luck with that one. I suppose
he says condescendingly.
The logic. Look, I mentioned Mikey Potter last week. I was flirting with him. I'm very glad we didn't start this competition last week. Looking at, I suppose, where we're at now, my logic around Ante-Post selections has been, spoke about across the board of how, there's very little value in the Ante-Post markets at the moment. But my answer to that is there is. You just need to, focus in on, what races is there out there now that you want to take on maybe a short price favourite? What are those races? I have a short list. I've run out every single race for the Cheltenham Festival. There's many races in there of a short list of 4 or 5 that I'm interested in backing at the prices currently. And this week's selection, I'm coming and looking at the Supreme, for example, Facile Vega. For me, putting on record, 2-1 for a Supreme Novice Hurdle. Anytime Willie's asked about the horse, he keeps mentioning Ballymore. Stepping up in trip to 2.5 miles, Corvega. How many times did she win over 2.5 miles at Cheltenham? For me, that's just a particular race that I'm looking at from an Ante-Post perspective. Mick Fitzgerald actually mentioned it on the Jump Show. Taking on, look, he's clogging up, 33% of the market currently. Not that you want something to go wrong with the horse or for anyone who's backed him for the Supreme, but that's a large chunk of the market on the 7th of November as we're speaking. So, where else is the value in that particular race? Brown Advisory, have 4 or 5 listed for that. Turner's, I've 3 listed on my short list for that. Stayers Hurdle looks a wide open division. I'm actually willing to take on Flooring Porter, I think, this season. I'll get to the point, Ronan Groome. The race have come down. I mentioned my short list for each of the races at the Cheltenham Festival. I only have one on the list for the Arkle. I only have one horse listed for the Arkle. And I'm surprised he hasn't got more of a mention from you, because I was standing beside you during the Supreme Novices Hurdle. We broke into the Cotswolds Club. That's a story we'll tell a different day. But we're probably the best few in the house for the Supreme Novices Hurdle. And the shouts out of you when Dysart Dynamo came down. He's my selection for the Arkle. I think it's all about fences. When he won the Grade 1 at Punchestown last season, I just couldn't get away from the smile on Paul Townend's face afterwards. And I immediately thought after that, this is going to be some horse over a fence. Obviously, he was inexperienced going to Cheltenham. He was running a credible race, to be fair. Got locked in a battle up front with John Bond. How well was he going when he came down? We really don't know. If you look at the Ante-Post market further, how far would he have finished ahead of John Bond in the Supreme? We actually genuinely don't know. So he came down. He was involved in, this horse. He is. I reckon he'll have so much more respect for a fence. He was just hitting hurdles like, no respect for them whatsoever. He's a brute. Willie spoke in his interview. I think it was the video on irishracing.com. It was actually a great video. I was watching it, and he spoke about getting him out potentially later when the ground really softens up. He's a big unit of a horse. And the logic behind this is, if you look at John Bond at the top of the market, 7-2, do we want to take that? No, it's a chronic price without even seeing him over a fence. Same with El Fabiolo, who was only beaten by him at entry, 6-1 now. Dysart, for me, El Fabiolo is a horse that you could see going up in trip. He shapes like a horse. With Dysart Dynamo, I think that he's going to go for the...
What price is Dysart?
Dysart Dynamo's 12-1. So I'm putting them in at 12-1. You know, at this point in time, you know that he's going to be a 2-miler over fences. You know that he's not going to step up and trip. His way of racing, he's going to have so much more respect for a fence. And for me, I think he's the sole value bet in the Arkle picture right now. Willie Mullins has won this race 4 times out of the last 8 runnings, 4 times this decade. He's not afraid to run multiple horses in the race. We've seen that on a couple of occasions. So even if El Fabiolo does make into a top class 2-mile, Dysart Dynamo is probably still going to go for the race. And I think he's value. He's only had 4 runs over hurdles, 2 from 4. And just anyone who's going to throw, because I know there's going to be probably some comments in the comment section. Anyone that's going to mention the run in Punchestown at the back end of the season, obviously in that grade 1.
He wasn't right.
Well, the vet reported post-race stress. So his well-being is obviously fine. When he spoke about he's going down the 2-mile route, we know the race he's going to end up in. Was running a cracker at the festival last season. Just to note as well, it was obviously the grade 2 that he won at Punchestown, not a grade 1. But it was it was
a grade 1 performance.
It was, and I think Paul Townend after the race, it's not too often you see Townend smile like that. So for me, cannot wait to see him over a fence. And of all the races, I've shortlisted of 3, 4, 5 horses in all the different markets for all the different races. He's the one horse I want to back for the Arkle, and I have done. So I've taken 12s today. So that's the first Ronan Groome.
Very good.
So there you go. 2-mile chasers, a novice and an open chaser for the first selections, 14-1 and 12-1. We want to know your first selection. The template is in the comments below. And of course, do get your big question in. Ronan Groome, actually, just to mention, so we didn't actually already mention it, but we were speaking off air. We are going to give away a prize. So it's not going to be who is the most winners. It's going to who has the healthiest looking portfolio prior to the Cheltenham Festival. Who has the healthiest looking portfolio? So the template will be below. You can update it every single week, put in your selections. But when it comes to the Monday night before Cheltenham, and we're doing the final show, Ronan Groome, we're going to give away a hamper, a Cheltenham Festival hamper worth 500 euros. And we're going to get some sponsors involved to sponsor that prize. What's in the hamper now, I can't tell you at this moment in time, but we've already given away a prize today. We'll be giving away a prize on Thursday. Get your selections in, get involved. A 500 euro worth of a hamper before the Cheltenham Festival. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Be nice, yeah. Well, you cheese and crackers and everything laid out.
I don't know. By the time people will probably be on the plane to Cheltenham, so we might actually organise to give that away the week before. The week before might be just nice to do that the week before. So whether someone's traveling or they're watching from home, what's in the hamper?
Champ.ie hoodie.
But there will be a 500 euros worth of value in the hamper. That's what we're going to announce. And you're going to pick, Mr. Groome. You're going to pick the.
I thought we were both going to pick.
Well, we'll both pick the healthiest looking hamper, or the healthiest looking portfolio.
Yeah, a very subjective view. So
yeah.
But, well, we could do the math on it. There'll be a mathematical one as well that we could work out. So.
Well, it's the healthiest looking portfolio. So get your selections in, get your big question in for next week. And that's been episode 1 of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge 2023. The selections this week, Mr. Groome has gone with Gentleman to Me. He's put in his first loser for the Cheltenham Festival 2023. And I'm going with Dysart Dynamo in the Arkle at 12-1. Too solid, in fairness. They're not wild, but hopefully they'll turn up in the races at those sort of prices and give us a run for the money.
Inside the final 150 yards, this is a special pair, and it's a Hattons full of grace. And it's Energumen opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2-mile novices. Energumen by a romping 10-12 lengths.